Welcome back to Studio F. We're on Fast Times with Willy B. We're reviewing Lost Boys: The Tribe. Gentlemen, let's broaden our minds.
Russell, it's on you.
Welcome back to Fast Times with Willy B. I'm Willy B. I've got Adam back with me.
What's going on, man?
And now we step on to the next movie in the Lost Boys trilogy, which shouldn't have been a trilogy.
I was just going to say, the trilogy that should have never been.
Yeah. Well, we've got The Tribe.
Yeah.
2008 is when it was released. We got PJ Pesci in the director's chair, not Joe.
Sadly.
Cast-wise, we got Corey Feldman back.
Feldman.
Gotta love that. Corey Haim also makes a little appearance in as well. We've got a Sutherland.
Yes.
But it's not Kiefer, unfortunately. It's Angus.
Yeah, it's a different one.
And then Ted Hilgenbrank, if I said that right. He plays basically our main character in this one.
Yeah.
But we'll start with the good.
Okay, do you want to start? This has been a good talk. Thanks for coming, guys.
We'll start with the meh.
Yeah, this has been
some
a great
of the blood.
Episode. Okay, yeah.
I'll put the effects in the meh, because there are some okay effects.
That aren't terrible.
Yeah.
That aren't terrible.
Bad?
Okay, let's get into the bad, everybody.
This is going to be a quick video.
Yeah. Well, this has been fun. Honestly, I was lost. Pun intended. I was lost from the very beginning.
Yes.
When what's his name? Shane? Is that it?
Yeah.
Is he the leader of the bad guys?
Shane. The surfer, the whole surf story.
The surfer. In the very beginning, they're doing their surf thing, and then Tom comes out. I'll say Tom. I think his name's David. He's credited as David, but it's Tom Savini.
Oh,
He comes out and
Tom Savini's in this movie.
Yeah, he's like, "Oh, you guys get out of here," and blah blah blah, and he reveals himself to be a vampire, and then they reveal themselves to be a vampire, and it's like a little cannibalism, vampire on vampire action, And then just the thing that I despise the most in that moment is where like Shane, the head vampire, like looks back and he just goes like, "Don't forget to cut off the head." And I'm like, so you're telling vampires how to kill other vampires, and this is exposition clearly for the camera and the audience because they obviously would know to do that, but you have to say that and be the cool guy and walk away. So as soon as that moment happened, I went, all right, I'm out. So I useless and pointless exposition drives me crazy.
Oh, for sure.
Like, it's one of the things I hate the most, and that is a prime example of that, of like, in that moment, they would never have to say that to each other.
No,
that
for
moment
sure.
would not exist. And then the way they rip off the head, and he kicks the head, and he's like, "Oh, I think the spine hit me in the foot or something." Like, he's like hopping around. I go, I'm out.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I watched the rest of it, but mentally, I was checked out.
Yeah. So this movie, I would put the dialogue in the bad.
Yeah.
Very poorly written.
Atrociously written.
There is a lot of scenes in this movie too that try to mimic the original.
Antlers.
Yeah, but it's just way worse.
In every way, shape, and form.
Angus Sutherland.
Yeah. You want to get into that? You want to start?
Oh my gosh.
It's bad. It's really bad.
How do you go, like, there's no way they're brothers.
No.
I feel bad saying that, but, like, Kiefer, like, was so good.
Yeah.
And in this, like...
Angus is not.
It's just so flat.
Yeah. It's, he tries to be a charismatic character that has no charisma.
Yeah.
Like, whatsoever. I wouldn't follow him to the bottom of a cereal box. Like, he has zero charisma.
Yeah.
Whereas, Kiefer is oozing charisma, like, if you will. It's... The acting is bad in this. The characters are not interesting. The story doesn't do anything for me. Like, it's just rough.
So, like I said with The Lost Boys, I've watched it 8-10 times in the last 5 years. This was my first watch of The Tribe.
So if Lost Boys is like 10 out of 10, right? Like, where is this?
Oh, we'll get there.
Okay.
We'll get there when we talk final thoughts and score. But this is my first watch of it. I've done a good job at avoiding it. until
I did not.
this. And honestly, I did not know that Angus Sutherland was in it. Like, I didn't know there was Sutherland in it. So when I saw that, I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. Immediately let down.
Yeah, not at all. Yeah.
Unfortunately. Acting in general, it's just a
really,
shame because we talked about how much acting meant in that first movie.
How much of a standout it is.
Yeah.
It really is. And how poor it is in this one.
Yeah.
It's really poor.
I mean, even Corey Feldman delivers, like...
Just everybody's phoning it in.
Yeah.
Everybody is showing up. So
they're relying on the name.
Yeah, this is one of those films I truly believe that when the actors got to set, the first question they asked was, how much am I being paid?
Oh, probably.
Yeah. I mean, this much?
Yeah.
All right, whatever.
I mean, even Corey Haim, he's in it for, like, a cameo, and it's, you know...
do you want to talk about that, or do you want to get to that? Because I have thoughts about that too.
We can go wherever. I mean,
yeah. The ending that you get, the mid credits ending. He shows up and he's a vampire, and it's like, don't make me kill you, and they charge at each other.
Yeah.
I was like, I just remember sighing really hard. I was like, really? Yeah. Like, I don't know if your mic's gonna pick that up. Probably.
Oh, I will.
Like, it was such a sigh. Like, I just was. But there is an alternate ending that was done.
1 second. Loki. Quiet. All right, we're back.
We're back. There is an alternate ending to the film where, Corey Haim shows up and he's basically like, hey, my brother Alan is a vampire and he's coming, and you need to let me help you. And Edgar, Corey Feldman, is like, I don't need your help. Get out of here. And Sam is like, no, you do need me. And then they go to the beach and they talk, and, Edgar's like, well, why should I help you or believe you? And then Corey Haim shows that he has, like, teeth marks in his neck, that he's been bitten. And then Edgar's like, that's all I needed to see. And then they both walk away really dramatically, and then it cuts to Alan in a car with, like, a female vampire, and he's driving along the coastline, and he's laughing maniacally, and then credits roll. And I went, what? Like, what?
Yeah.
It's so bad. And I feel bad, too, because it's very clear that Corey Haim was going through some rough stuff in his personal life. Like, when you see him in the movie, like, there's a reason why it's just a cameo.
Yeah.
Because... guy looks rough, and we all know that he was going through some really, really rough stuff, which is awful. But then it's like, okay, so we have Feldman, right? Like, he's going to save this film. He's completely phoning it in.
Yeah.
Like, he genuinely just doesn't seem to be interested in being there either.
No. Honestly, this movie had no direction. Like,
at all.
So, direction's in the bad. We already talked about writing. The dialogue is rough. I mean, some of the things these characters say. I also hate, why do the vampires just randomly stab each other?
I know.
That's annoying.
There's so many nonsensical things, right? So, the beginning of the film, there's too much exposition. It's out of control. And then there's things in this film that happen where you go, can I get a little bit of exposition? Can I get a little bit of plot of, like, why these people are doing these things and saying these things?
And then I hate the look of the vampires.
I know. It's so bad.
They were so good in 87. How did you make it worse in 2008?
That was a whole thing. You can see so much, hair, makeup, costume work and stuff that's done. Like, why is, one of the absolute greatest creatures we have ever seen on film in The Fly? And then fast forward, 40 years later, however long it's been. I don't know. I'm getting old. And nothing has ever looked that good again. That's been trying to, like, duplicate that, right? So you have these things that really peaked, and I think it's because of minimalist practical effects. I'm a really big fan of minimalist practical effects, and that's what they did in The Lost Boys. Yeah. It's simple. It's straightforward.
Practical's always better.
Yeah, it just does the job. And then obviously when practical and CG can be married together cohesively, that's when it works best. Yeah. But Lost Boys is really simple. They don't how much do you actually see them looking like vampires? Not all that much in the movie. They rely on the performances of the actors and the feeling of the characters and everything. And I completely agree. They looked terrible in this.
Yeah.
It was really bad.
Continuing with things that were butchered from the original, the soundtrack is not good.
It's garbage. Just call it it's garbage.
Oh my god.
It's a really terrible.
And the rendition we get of Cry Little Sister,
I was gonna ask your thoughts.
I almost shut the movie off.
I was gonna ask your thoughts on it, because that's a whole thing. You know, they try to redo Cry Little Sister, and it's like, okay, well, number one, let's just acknowledge that you're not ever gonna be like the original, but this is what you get with, and it's terrible. Yeah. It's just not good at all.
No.
Yeah. It's like I think the band is called like Aiden, or the singer's like Aiden. It's something like that. But it's bad.
Yeah.
So you don't have to listen to it. It's bad.
But
one thing I think we'd be remiss if we didn't jump into is, and I'm not able to, because it is a sequel, right? So I have to compare them, right? We talked about how incredible of a villain David is, right?
Yeah.
Just peak vampire villain. Shane is a terrible, like we talked about, no charisma. The acting is bad, right? The makeup, the prosthetic work is not good. But just I know what David's all about, and I'd follow him anywhere.
Yeah.
Right. I would follow Shane nowhere. He's just a really bad villain with bad acting and bad writing, and just it's bad across the board.
And they tried to pull similarities in from the original to this one. Like, obviously, he's coming after the sister Nicole, and then he has I can't even think of the main character's name now. That's how forgettable this film is. It's played by
it's not
Ted.
Memorable.
But he drinks and joins, and like it's the same thing where Shane like kind of has him under his shoulder, because when Shane goes to take Nicole, and that's when other vampires team up against him. But like the relationship's not nearly as good as what we get.
Or interesting.
There's no chemistry.
That's one of the killers of this film is, that's why you don't make a sequel to The Lost Boys. You just don't. Because you look at the film and everything works so perfectly and across the board. And, if you haven't watched the first review of The Lost Boys, watch it. Yes. But that is what the magic of the original part of the magic is, the chemistry. It's so believable and you buy in immediately. And there is not an ounce of chemistry in this film. Like, it doesn't exist. And you just kind of want it to be over. and then when it is over, you're like, yes, this is the best part of the film, the credits.
I'm not going to lie. I think I checked the time like 6 times.
Yeah.
I'd like pause and like, God, there's still 55 minutes.
Yeah. Like, right. It's one of those, you're like, all right, so I've been watching this for 2 hours. And you look and you go, nope, it's been 20 minutes. All right, cool. It drags on, and
pacing isn't bad.
It's really crappy across the board. And, the stuff they have Feldman do, the one-liners, and none of it's any good, and none of it feels believable. And the way he just kind of shows up, like in the film, and I don't know, it's just I don't look at his character now of Edgar with what he had to do in this film and go, yeah, this is an experienced vampire hunter that I would trust. Yeah. I would go, no, this is a guy that needs something to do. Yeah. And he just shows up at beach parties and he's like, hey, who here's a vampire? And they raise their hands and he attacks them. Like, that's what I feel like he is now.
Yeah, and the surfing, like, underlying plot is so weird to me. But something that I gotta mention in the bad is how much they took a hit on set design and lighting in this movie.
Yeah.
This movie is dark. There's no lights on set. Mm-hmm. And the house and lair both suck.
Yeah, they're terrible. They're really terrible. And why you specifically mention that is because the house and the lair in the first one are fantastic peak set design.
Yeah.
And it's so bad in this.
It is.
And so, mentioning that's a really good call because you can kind of see how they were trying to do like little nods to the first one. And it's just... if the grade of the first one is A, everything in this one is like D and F. Like, it really is. Like, we're not just being hard on it to be hard on it, to have something to talk about or whatever. I feel like, I know me personally, and I feel like for you, you speak from the heart when you review movies and you're honest. And, this is, I feel like the first time we've kind of torn a movie up like this.
Oh, for sure.
But it's not just given out with whatever, it's earned getting torn up.
Well, the thing is, too, is, and I feel like you're the same in this because, we've talked about Jason X before, and that's a prime example.
Yeah.
We both let the subjectivity play into our ratings of movies.
100%.
while also, looking at the objective of a movie.
Yeah.
Is the cinematography good? Is
Yeah.
the lighting good? So we balance both really well.
For sure.
I feel like there's a lot of critics out there like, okay, objective.
Yeah.
And that's what I
the
try to
lighting's
do.
bad, so the movie's terrible. And it's like, wait.
I try to review did it entertain me while hitting some of the notes?
Yeah, entertainment factor is huge. Yeah.
Didn't really do either.
So, if you look at just the purely technical aspects, like the things you were saying, the lighting is really bad. The set pieces are bad. The makeup is bad. The writing is bad. So you do all the technical things. The acting is bad. And it's like, but the entertainment value, like, how is that? It's bad.
Yeah.
There really is.
It
no
was unfortunately a movie. Like I
yeah.
said, I checked the time a few times. It just never ended, and it's a prime example of just a sequel that never needed to be made.
Yeah, for sure. I have one question about one thing I'm curious of your thoughts about.
Hit me.
In the lore, it is discussed that, it was talked about, and I looked up stuff about this, but it's kind of nodded to David made Shane.
Okay.
Yeah, so David is Shane's maker, and
Which makes sense.
and people have said that Shane is one of the surf Nazis from the first one.
Oh.
Yeah, so Shane comes from that beach party, and a bunch of those guys come from that beach party, right?
That makes sense.
So
again, with
that's
the
kind of the
surfing
nod to it. Is like, oh, why is Shane trying to be like David? It's like, well, David was his maker, so that's why he's trying to be like it, So that's kind of what gets talked about, because there was supposed to be one of the ideas for sequels originally was the Lost Girls, which was supposed to be right. So going back to the first one, why does David not explode or disappear or melt or whatever? When David gets killed by the antlers, kind of steam comes up, but his body's laying there. His body is whole. So why does David not, do what a lot of the other vampires do? And it was supposed to be because David actually lived, and he does get away. So the antler just misses his heart. And he was supposed to be lined up for a sequel, like they were going to do The Lost Girls or The Lost Boys 2. There was a bunch of ideas for sequels that just didn't pan out. So they ended up going with the one of, well, David did get away and escaped, and then he kind of groomed Shane a little bit and stayed behind the scenes, like plotting his next comeback and everything like that. And then there was like a comic made called like Reign of Frogs, which was David versus Edgar again, or the Frog Brothers again. And of course he doesn't succeed again, but then there's nothing really known about David after that. So if he did live, like nothing really more was done with him about like what happens to him. So, and the only thing that kind of gave a nod to that could have happened is that David's body remains at the end of the first one. And then he kind of goes on to, help Shane become like the next kind of generation. So what are your thoughts on, like, so say that is existence, right? That is what happened. What are your thoughts on that kind of storyline?
Still don't need the movie.
Exactly. That's what I mean, right? like I would be more interested in seeing like a David grooming Shane. Yeah. Right, like David being like, you're the next guy. Like people think I'm dead, and I'm going to kind of hang out behind the scenes, right?
That would have been interesting too, because maybe Angus and Kiefer could have had some chemistry with them being brothers.
Maybe could have brought it out of him or something, or maybe just, scrap this entire second film. Just give me a film of David being like, oh, so I'm the new head vampire.
Yeah,
Max is gone, so it's me, and then David trying to like build a family in a different place.
Yeah.
Like I would have lined up for that. You bring Kiefer back for that, I'm there all day long, right? Because the charisma's there, right? Mm-hmm. Like, and you can build around that. But this is just rough, very rough. All right, so I've been trying to think of something good to say.
Okay.
And I don't have anything. This entire time I'm like, all right, think of something good to say, and I really don't. It's one of those things where it's rough for a proper reason.
I don't even like the family stuff going on too with
none of it does anything
aunt or whatever that's helping them, and then the ending, like, you guys are smoking. You better not. I don't want to, like. I'm like. Oh,
I know. I'm trying to look up right now on the fly what the Rotten Tomatoes score is.
I'm pretty sure it's 0
for The Tribe. 0. All right.
Too high,
too high, too low. You want to rank it at too high, too low?
I would probably go too low because I don't believe in 0 out of 10s.
Yeah, 100%. You
made a movie, at least get a 1.
That's really interesting you said that, because I've kind of always said that in my normal life is, because people will be like, oh, a 0, haha, that's too low, and I'll go, you know, I guarantee you there were some people on set, whether cast or crew, where this meant something to them.
Yeah.
This was the first film in their career, or maybe they've gone on to be a successful, you know, script supervisor or something like that.
Yeah.
But this film meant something to somebody on that set, and for that reason, I will never give something a 0
Nope.
either. So if it was a 1, I would say just right.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
right. Interesting. 0. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's one positive. It
Yeah.
scored too low on Rotten Tomatoes.
Exactly.
That's a positive.
I think what the audience meter was like a 25. That I'll say too high.
25. Way too high. Way too high.
Yeah. It's a rough one. It definitely didn't need to be made. I just don't think I have any more to say. So we can hop over to our final thoughts and ratings. If there's anything you'd like to leave off with the tribe, and what do you give it out of 10?
No, so I would say out of 10, and this is pretty brutal, but just being perfectly honest, I give it a 1 out of 10.
We're 2 for 2 on the Lost Boys franchise so far. I'm going 1 out of 10 too. To me, this reminds me a lot of The Exorcist too.
Yeah,
you go,
good comparison.
I know how you feel about the first Exorcist, but
yeah.
We're talking a movie that, for the most part, is very highly regarded, and then immediately as low as you can get of a second movie.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a really, really good kind of comparison. So for the audience out there watching, that's exactly what it is. Like Exorcist, you know, I personally think, you know, go check out the other videos about under and over that we have. But like, I personally think it's an overrated film, but the basement door just falls out from the bottom of the second one. It's so bad, and this is exactly what happened for this one.
Yeah. So that'll do it for Lost Boys: The Tribe. Adam,
thanks, man.
Coming on.
Appreciate it.
Thank you all for watching. If you like what you're watching, check out some other videos. Hit the subscribe button or follow the social links down below. Go check out the Lost Boys review if you haven't already. Stick around. We've got The Thirst coming next, but we'll talk to you all soon. Peace.
See ya.